You know, I've really been looking forward to talking about the...
Here's the mail, Mr. Boccone.
Oh, that's a big one.
And another.
Boy.
And one more. Whew. Good thing they're virtual.
I'm gonna need a virtual chiropractor.
I'll go get the rest.
Well, this can be fun. Looks like we're taking some questions today. Yow! It's a virtual paper cut.
What is a dog? How much is a dog worth?
The sport of dogs is one of the cleanest and best regulated of all the organized sports.
I am 50% setter, Irish setter.
Today, there is no question of the dog's place in society.
Isn't that so, Lassie?
Down and Back. Stories from the AKC archives.
This is the show for you.
With Bud Boccone.
This pup is more than a pal.
Let's dig in. Aisha in Milton Freewater, Oregon writes, Dear Bud, I've been asking around about a hypoallergenic dog, and Vince at the farmer's market tells me there's no such thing. Who's right? P.S. I've got a bag of kale riding on this. Well, Aisha, come with me. You get all types here at the dog park, canines and humans. And of those humans, as many as 1 in 5 in Western countries are allergic to dogs. Maybe you or a member of your family, you know the drill. Itchy or watery eyes, hives on your skin, even more serious respiratory issues. In time, the label hypoallergenic has been batted around like a shuttlecock. But here's the thing. Some individual dogs may bring on fewer allergy symptoms than others, but studies suggest there is no specific breed or mix of breeds that is truly hypoallergenic. Folks at the American College of Allergy note that somewhere along the line, dogs who don't shed became synonymous with the word hypoallergenic. Fine and dandy, except some people are allergic to dog hair while others are allergic to dander. That's their skin cells. Some are allergic to dog saliva. Still, the hypoallergenic label persists, often tied to such breeds as Yorkshire Terriers, Bichon Frise, Maltese, and Schnauzers, low or no shedding, or hairless dogs. Granted, these breeds are typically better for allergy sufferers, but completely hypoallergenic, they are not. Some good housekeeping habits can reduce exposure to allergens. You might keep your pet out of the bedroom and use a HEPA air filter right for the size of the room. Vacuum regularly. I just cost a listener a bag of kale. That's never a good day. Alrighty. Dear Bud, were there dogs on the Titanic, and if so, did they survive? This from Rose Buccater of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Interesting question. Among the aristocracy sailing on the Titanic, records are pretty good. When it sank on April 15th, 1912, more than 1,500 people died. It's known that the ship carried at least a dozen dogs, only 3 of which survived. We know that one of them was Lady, a Pomeranian purchased by Margaret Beckstein Hayes in Paris. Her owner had wrapped her in a blanket and took her aboard Lifeboat 7. Passenger James Clinch Smith, who would not survive the night, commented,
Oh, I suppose we should put a life preserve on the little doggy, too.
Another was Sun Yat-sen, a Pekingese belonging to Myra and Henry S. Harper, the publishing magnate whose company would later morph into HarperCollins. The couple and their dog were on Lifeboat 3. The third was another Pomeranian, owned by Martin and Elizabeth Jane Rothschild. The latter concealed the dog on Lifeboat 6 after the crew had refused to allow it on board. Canine and owner were taken aboard the Carpathia, Martin Rothschild did not survive. Some of the canines to perish on the Titanic are well recorded. There was a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and an Airedale Terrier, both owned by the children of William Carter, the Philadelphia coal magnate. Millionaire John Jacob Astor was lost, as was his Airedale, Kitty. 2 aboard the Titanic were due to attend a French Bulldog specialty show in New York a week later. A judge, Samuel Goldenberg, and a champion brindle French Bulldog, Gamin de Pincombe, never made it. Anne Elizabeth Isham had boarded the Titanic in Cherbourg with her Great Dane. On the night of the tragedy, she refused to leave the ship without her dog, deemed by crew to be too large to merit a spot on the lifeboat. Though 6 of every 10 first-class passengers would survive, Anne Elizabeth Isham was not among them, one of just 4 females in first class to perish. As with any historic ruin, fact and story fades and time overgrown with legend and fancy. There are accounts unsubstantiated that a recovery ship later found her body with her arms wrapped around the dog. Okay, here's a substantial letter. From Devon in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, who writes, Dear Bud, quick question. I was in a bar watching sports on TV, sitting with my cousin Rochelle and her son. Not the redheaded one, but the shorter one who plays badminton. In fact, last year, his team was... Well, let's flip ahead a bit. Anyway, on ESPN, we were watching these dogs. It was one of those 4K TVs, must have been 55 inches. Let's flip ahead. Anyway, these dogs were racing on this grass, and wow, the 4K TV was so clear I could see every blade. We wondered how they kept it so weed-free and... let's flip ahead. Anyway, one of those dogs was a mixed breed, and a lot like the one my Uncle Henny had back in Kansas City. That was Kansas City, Kansas. Though he spent a few years living in Missouri where he got the ague. Let's jump to the last page. Anyway, this fast cat looked fun. I'm pretty sure my dog could beat any of those dogs on ESPN. If me and my terrier wanted to do stuff like that, how do you even start? Okay, well, Devin, I'll be sure to read your 27-page postscript. But for now, FastCat stands for Fast Cat, the acronym for Coursing Ability Test. Now, we're not here to pump AKC's tires or do any kind of product placement. Let me just get a sip of gutsy Captain Kombucha. But no kidding, for a relatively new sport, Fast Cat is catching on, quickly. You don't need to wonder how fast your dog can run. Fast Cat is a timed 100-yard dash where dogs run one at a time, chasing a lure. One of the few sports where all that's needed to compete is your dog's natural instincts. It's over before you know it, and is nothing short of awe-inspiring to watch your dog run at top speed, ears back, eyes focused, legs strong. Oh, and if your dog is really fast, you might earn bragging rights if their name makes it onto our list of top 20 fastest dogs by breed. In 2024, for instance, a Greyhound was clocked at more than 37 miles per hour, about 10 miles an hour faster than the mightiest human sprinter. With more than 22,000 annual events, all dogs can participate in Fast Cat, whether purebred or mixed breed. Well, that lightened the mailbag a little. Okay, Maya of Checkerboard, Montana writes, Dear Bud, listening to your Bloodhound episode, I remembered hearing somewhere that Bloodhound evidence can be accepted in court. Is this true? A dandy question. The answer? Well, yeah, kinda, sorta, yeah. And depends. Here we lean on Courthouse News Service, where Robert Kahn explains, it depends what state you're in. By that he means which U.S. state. Yes, Maya, the Bloodhound is the only dog whose evidence is admissible in U.S. courts, but it depends where. And there can be conditions. In Nebraska, a Bloodhound won't testify against you. Otherwise, some 44 states affirm that
evidence of the trailing of human beings by bloodhounds is admissible as a circumstance to corroborate other evidence offered by the state.
Some courts regard bloodhound evidence not as primary, but as circumstantial or corroborating when there's other evidence to lean on. Some courts want evidence as to the bloodline, training, and experience of the dog. Others that it's purebred. And others want to know that the dog has proved its trailing abilities before its findings are accepted, before he can take the stand. Okay, he doesn't take the stand. There remains some pretty strong precedents in the hound's favor. I mean, who doesn't remember the case of Ohio State v. Thomas Hall in 1895? When Hall was convicted of burglary and larceny, he appealed, contesting the use of bloodhound evidence in the case. The appellate court cited ancient writings on the use of hounds in ancient Greece and in pursuit of Scotland's William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. And the good old Encyclopedia Britannica for good measure. Appeal dismissed. Okay, so yes, if you're writing it, bloodhound evidence is admissible, but add some asterisks, disclaimers, and footnotes. If you're telling someone, you might go with air quotes. Let's adjourn and reconvene around the mailbag. Josh? No, the other one.
You're listening to Down and Back, stories from the AKC archives.
Esteban of Dry Prong, Louisiana writes, Dear Bud, 4 seasons in and I still don't know what the heck down and back means. What do you know, right under our snouts. Happy to oblige, Esteban. Come on and join me at the park and I'll explain. Suppose this park was a dog show venue. Down and back is an important element of judging at the show or confirmation event. First, the judge will assess a dog according to its breed standard, a series of ideal benchmarks including size and proportion, head, neck, top line, and body, its fore and hind quarters, coat, temperament, and color, and movement. That's where down and back comes in. Movement for each recognized breed includes a set of ideal characteristics. The dogs here are pretty busy playing, so suppose we ask our engineer Josh to sit in. Josh, would you stand over there with the handler, please?
Yeah, sure.
Now, if I'm a judge, I've assessed all those first characteristics. Proportions are fine, and Josh has always had a pretty good temperament, okay? Would the handler take Josh down and back for us, please? Here's where movement is assessed according to the breed standard. You can't expect a galumphing Newfoundland to be as nimble-footed as a Border Collie, and a Norfolk Terrier doesn't stride like a Vizsla, nor should they. Dogs are bred in various sizes and shapes to navigate vastly different parts of the earth, whether it's hauling a sled over ice and snow, or running down prey across a desert, or crossing the rocky, punishing terrain of the Scottish Highlands. Take 5, Josh? Not bad for a biped. You'll notice we employed a handler to lead Josh down and back just then. I'll bet you a nickel someone has written to ask about that. Up next, a letter from Alaska. Hannah in Nanana. Wait, is it Nanana or Tanana, Alaska? Nanana. Hannah writes, Dear Bud, your answer to Esteban's letter, okay, that's weird, made me wonder about handlers at dog shows. Aren't those owners and breeders we see with the dogs on TV? And there's a P.S. That's Nanana, Alaska, not Tanana, writes Hannah. For this, we want to go backstage. Now here are rows of tables, toys, grooming supplies, everything needed for the canines at this show. With them, in many cases, are owner breeders who will present their dog. But in many cases, it's the professional dog handler. The handler can be the owner breeder's vice president in charge of everything, seeing to the canine's health, safety, and welfare above all. The handler must bring out the best in the dog, minimize its quirks, and represent the intent and vibe of the owner breeder. A handler might oversee diet, grooming, and exercise, and own a really good suitcase. Because professional handlers travel in packs, and often. From one show to the next, handlers can share an almost familial bond, traveling together and attending the same circuits of shows. One seasoned handler reports that there's no shortage of camaraderie. All share a love of dogs and the sport. Fun fact, handlers learn the tricks and complications of the trade. For instance, hotels friendly to dog show participants are known to set up a whole potty area in their basement, knowing the handlers can't easily get outside to do business. For a fee as much as $100 per dog, known in the trade as a pee fee. Another fun fact, with so many people wandering around backstage at a dog show, some trainers keep an assistant nearby to sit next to their canine while they grab a meal or spend a penny. Some who don't have an assistant will hire a security guard to watch the dog. And the downside of life as a handler? The travel, for one, which can be brutal. For another, says a veteran handler, it's unreasonable clients, more concerned with the color of a ribbon than the dogs, or the sport itself. So how does someone get the gig? Well, handlers often start by joining a kennel club, meeting people in the sport, building relationships, and even working with professional handlers for a time. True professionals make the welfare of dogs in their care an utmost priority. That they're fair, honest, and transparent in business practices and conduct themselves in a sportsmanlike manner. I would point out that members of the AKC Registered Handlers Program are trained to meet these standards through a rigorous code of ethics, but that would be gratuitous. Let me just get a sip of this Grumpy Mule Sumatra Geo Highlands ground coffee. Meanwhile, Hannah, please be sure to say hello to everyone in Nanana. Okie dokie, let's open this text from Abel in Tightwad, Missouri. Abel writes, Dear Bud, I love my skipper key and want to get another, but I'm scared. E-S-C-A-R, yep. Scared, cause I don't know the plural for a skipper key. Is it skipper keys or skipper's key or skipper kai? Please help. Or helps. Great question, Abel. The plural of dog breeds can take on a life of their own, well beyond simply adding an S. In no small part because breed names come from all parts of the world, and many from centuries ago. Consider the cane corso, which, in the style of that part of the Mediterranean, becomes the plural cani corsi. More than one of the Cerneco dell'Etna becomes the Cernecchi dell'Etna. More than one Spinone Italiano becomes the Spinoni Italiani. The plural for the Quichand is Quichanden. To pluralize the dog di Bordeaux, you add an S to dog, but then pronounce it the same. For the Hungarian flock guardian with the profuse white cords from head to tail, that would be the Commandor, the plural becomes Commandoric. Also from Hungary, the Puli, whose plural is Pulik, leaving no room for surprise that the Pumi, pluralized, becomes Pumik. I'm on a rolls here. Just as some species, singular and plural, are the same, as with deer, fish, moose, sheep, bison, and cod, some canine breed names pluralize without budging an inch. Both singular and plural are the Xoloitzes Quintly, Lauchin, Chow Chow, not Chow 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 Chow, and Belgian Tervuren. Yet, for many breeds, from the Basenji to the Border Collie to the Basset Hound, just add an S at the end and you've got the plural. unless they join the ranks of solicitors general, poets laureate, or Johnny's come lately. That was fun. Next we have...
You forgot to answer the question.
Okay, whoops. Dear Bud, I love my skipper key. That's skipper keys, just add an S. We have an email. Astra writes us from Baldhead, Maine. Seriously? Dog emoji, dog emoji. Dear Bud, I recently heard the expression stud book, 1, 2, 3 blushing emojis, and thought it was a joke. Is that a real thing? Many question marks. And do I need a stud finder to see one? LMAO, and 3 dog emojis. Well, Asta, feel free to LYAO as I explain that the stud book is at the very heart of what AKC and kennel clubs everywhere do. Now, there's a little story to go with that. By the late 1800s, the Industrial Revolution had reshaped America. Presidents, kings, and queens were well and good, but real power was brokered by a new class of magnates, captains of commerce and industry, even the shortest of them standing tall in striped pants, top hat, vest, watch, and fob affront a proud paunch, and the cigar puffing as if in time to a steam locomotive. Many liked to hunt, and they loved their dogs. Clubs and organizations sprung up around favorite breeds. Canine bloodlines were painstakingly recorded in stud books, a sort of early blockchain, chronicling the precise lineage of hundreds, thousands of purebred dogs. Confirmation shows were held in various cities and states, many with varying rules and regulations. On September 17, 1884, in the meeting rooms of the Philadelphia Kennel Club, a group of dedicated sportsmen, each representing a dog club, met to discuss the formation of a club of clubs. That year, the American Kennel Club was born, or maybe whelped. An early leader in dog sports, Dr. Nicholas Rowe, gifted the early AKC with 3 volumes of his North American Kennel Club stud book. From then on, AKC, the Club of Clubs, would be its keeper. More than a century's worth are preserved in the AKC archives. Through AKC, clubs would also coordinate a uniform set of rules and guidelines for dog sports, removing regional differences that had frustrated owners, breeders, and fans of the sport. Worth noting that stud books are designated as open or closed. When a stud book is open, it means dogs can still be registered even if its earlier ancestors weren't. A closed stud book does not accept any outside blood. This happens when numbers of registered dogs abound, to the point where there's a healthy diversity within the breed. So many questions about purpose-bred dogs and so little time. Is a dog's nose its fingerprint? Why do dogs kick backwards in the grass after they make number 2? And what happened to the cheese sandwich I left on the counter? Keep 'em coming. However many thousands of years we spend getting to know canines, it seems there's always something new to learn.
Down and Back, stories from the AKC archives. Visit akc.org to learn everything you could ever want to know about responsible dog ownership. Follow AKC on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at American Kennel Club. On X, at AKC Dog Lovers. And tell us what you thought of the show. If you're new to the show, subscribe with your favorite podcast provider to catch up on all of our past episodes. Founded in 1884, the not-for-profit AKC is the recognized and trusted expert in breed, health, and training information for all dogs. We actively advocate for responsible dog ownership and are dedicated to advancing dog sports. We actively advocate for responsible dog ownership and are dedicated to advancing dog sports. Excuse me. Research for Down and Back is provided by the AKC Library and Archives, the only national repository dedicated to the sport and enjoyment of the purebred dog. Learn more about the collections at akc.org/library.